Hello and welcome. My name is Judy Earp, and I'll be your host for this series of videos. These videos are dedicated to Dr. Thomas Burchard, who was murdered March 3rd, 2019 in Las Vegas, Nevada, by Kelsey Turner and John Kennison, who are now both serving prison terms in the Nevada prison system. Please bear with me. This series of videos is very difficult emotionally for me to talk about. This has been a very high profile case. It never went to trial. The people responsible for Tom's murder made plea deals. There have been many stories in the media, ranging from almost true to the totally ludicrous. The fact is, there is not one single one that is 100% accurate, and I would like to set the record straight. I feel most of them have left more questions unanswered than they've actually answered questions. I do read the comments on many of the different videos and media that's out there. And, you know, it's not fair to those people who knew Tom. And they know this isn't Tom. You know, the suppositions and the innuendos and the jumping to conclusions. I will tell you right off the bat, it was not a sugar daddy situation. And if you're looking for to hear a story that's, you know, very salacious and all of that stuff, bye, because that's not what this is. I'm dedicating this to the truth, to the absolute truth about what happened. It was far more evil than I think most people can even comprehend. In fact, in his own words, when he was interviewed in a jailhouse type interview, John Kennison denied murdering Tom and said, I think I'm quoting him correctly, but it was to the effect of, "We're not monsters." Well, you know what? In your own words, you are monsters. Worse, actually. You know, and you did plead guilty. But there are many unanswered questions, such as the first one that comes up is like, why? Why would Tom even associate with this type of person? And I intend to answer those questions. I am breaking them up into short little segments because, quite frankly, that's all emotionally I can deal with at the time. And I do want the truth to come out. So please bear with me. One of the first questions many people ask is, who was Dr. Burchard? And I think to put the whole story in perspective, I will give you first a little bit of background on who Tom was, how he thought, and bits of his personality. He was highly educated, a very good doctor, very dedicated. In fact, I have never actually known anyone more dedicated to their profession and to their patients as Tom was. He did go way above and beyond the call of duty. If he really honestly thought that most problems, psychiatric problems, had two causes: a chemical imbalance in the brain or outside factors, which most commonly were financial problems. And, he thought he could solve the world's problems with his pen, write a prescription or write a check. And for the most part, it went a long ways. None of them took advantage of him the way Kelsey Turner did. I will right off the bat tell you Kelsey Turner was never, ever his patient, nor any member of her family. There's been, in fact, one person, this whole segment about how a psychiatrist shouldn't be, with his patients, shouldn't have, she never was his patient. She was, well, she obviously does have some problems, but she was not his patient. Never was. So that answers that question right off the bat. Sets that record straight. So back to Tom. He cared about his patients. Most of his patients were children. He was a child psychiatrist first and foremost. That was his specialty. And most of the children were ADHD, some autism. And he was the leading expert in the area on ADHD and the treatments. And he always kept, abreast of the latest developments. He really truly cared about his patients. In fact, one time we were at a breakfast restaurant, and we were getting up and we were leaving, and there was a family there and a couple of boys, and it was probably one of the boys' birthday or something, because he had a group of friends there who were about his age. And he sees Tom across the restaurant, and he goes, "Oh, hey, Dr. B." They always called him Dr. B. And then he told his friends, "Oh, he's my Adderall guy." He always had a really good rapport with the children. Sometimes I think maybe Tom was really a child at heart. Sometimes I really do, think so. He had all the latest toys in his office. Anybody that's ever been in his office can attest to that fact. It was, in fact, some people had actually mistaken it for the hospital gift shop at times. But, and he always said, "Oh, I need the toys, to engage the children, see how they react with them." That, and I'm thinking, yeah, Tom, I think you just want the toys. You just want the toys. But, and he also, for, the children, he did his magic tricks. He was very famous for that. And he studied up on those, went to just as many magic conferences as he did medical conferences, it seems. And he would engage the children. It did have a purpose, it engaged them. He could also see their reactions, how they, their reasoning, how they deducted, how they reacted. Were they curious on how to do this, or that sort of thing? And he also, one particular magic trick for a little bit older children, not the little tiny ones, but some of the older children, he had this one magic trick where he had a dollar bill, and he would show them the dollar bill, and then he would fold it up, and he would blow on it, and he would tell them that, "Hey, if you can tell me who the president on $100 bill is, You can have what's in my hand. And, Benjamin Franklin's not a president. And he, usually won. But then some of the kids were getting, and got a little expensive when they caught on. So he, changed it. Instead of giving them the $100 bill, he told them, what is like, you stay in school and you study very hard, and you'll be able to make the big bucks like the $100 bill. And that, satisfying. And, I remember one time in a grocery store line, it was kind of long, and there was a little child in front of us, and they were getting a little restless, and then all of a sudden he always kept magic tricks in his pocket of all different kinds. And one of his, favorite ones, especially with the young, really young children, this little child was maybe 3, 4 years old, and it was the disappearing scarf trick. And he would have his scarf and he would wave it around, and then he would go like this, and then the scarf would disappear. And, that usually caught the children's attention, and he would do it a couple of times for them. And hopefully by that time, they'd get all checked out and on their way. But, he always, he never met a stranger. He really never met a stranger. He was very kind and very giving. Um, and as I said, most of his patients were children. He had a few adult patients. Some of them had been children, and he continued to see them, follow them well past the age of 18. In fact, there were a few of them that were second generation parents, where he had seen the children, they grew up, married, and had children, and he saw those children. I know of several cases where two of his patients have actually married. I don't think they have any children, but it's like, it's a small town, Monterey. Even it's, I think the population's around 40,000, but it's still small enough that, people know each other and, everything. So he developed a reputation for being kind and generous. And he also, on some of his adult patients, would pick them up through the emergency room. Of course, he would always refer them to an adult psychiatrist, but several of them trusted him and would rather stay there with him, and so he would follow them. I remember there was one elderly lady, she has since passed away, and he knew part of her problem was nutrition. She was basically, he pretty much knew that she couldn't afford proper nutrition. So we would go to Costco every couple weeks, and we would buy, a big Costco case or two of like Ensure. And in the evening, we would leave it on her porch, anonymously. And I don't think she ever really knew who left that there. I know he didn't tell. And I certainly never told anybody. This is, pretty much the first. Another patient he had was hospitalized in an emergency. And when he saw her, and she was extremely worried because her dog was at home by himself. And she was looking at, several days stay in the hospital. And so Tom and I, after, in the evening, we went to see her landlord and arranged care for the dog to be fed and watered and exercised and walked daily until she was able to come home. He would go above and beyond the call of duty in situations like this. And I honestly don't know of any other doctor that would do this. And I know sometimes he would spend hours after seeing patients arguing with the insurance companies, getting them to cover the correct medicines for his patients. He would, earlier, they have since changed the laws, where he would give samples of the medications to the patients he knew that couldn't afford them or had no insurance. Later on, the law changed, and they didn't have samples, but the pharmaceutical companies would have coupons, and he would always make sure that they got coupons to cover or at least help cover their medication costs. He and it was, most of the media says, oh, he just helped young, beautiful women. That's absolutely not true. He helped everybody: man, woman, child, senior citizen. It didn't matter. I heard so many people contact me afterwards saying, oh, Dr. Burchard, and it was a guy. When I was a child, he actually was his patient still, but when I first started seeing him as a child, my parents were drug addicts. We were in danger of becoming homeless, and Dr. Burchard paid our rent and saved us from being homeless. So it was not just as the media wants to put out there. And I'm going to conclude this little section because I want to keep them fairly short, and I will try every day or two to add, to upload more videos. But please, if you have any questions, put them in the comments. I will read the comments and I will answer those questions. It may not be in the very next video, but it'll be in the time sequence that it's appropriate to answer. So, thank you, and I beg your indulgence for the train noise that we heard in the middle of this, and any other technical glitches. As I said, this is first time I've done this, and it's not just a low budget production, it's a no budget production. So please subscribe and share, and please give a thumbs up. Thank you.